Hey, it's Drybear. We're continuing our series of covering every single spec in all content for Dragonflight, and today we're going to be talking about the Mistweaver Monk in Mythic Plus. We'll go over important talent choices, gameplay, rotations, and things to be aware of as you clear and push higher and higher keys with your Mistweaver. As always, if you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every single day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. All right, let's talk Mistweaver. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna get out of the way is that there are two different ways to look at Mistweaver or play Mistweaver. The first is the traditional caster playstyle, and that is, throwing out your Soothing Mist, having your casts, throwing out casts, and then doing instant casts through your Soothing Mist, and then picking up like a, Jade Serpent statue that duplicates your Soothing Mist, and then just standing back and casting. Throughout the expansions since Mists of Pandaria, there have been points where the caster was stronger, and then the second play style, fist weaving, was stronger. And right now in Dragonflight, I don't think you can get away from fist weaving completely. Today, this guide is going to talk about the fist weaving playstyle because I do believe it to be superior. It is much stronger, and even if you want to work in more casts, more standing back, even casting Soothing Mist at all, then you will still end up picking up fist weaving just because it's so essential to the class and all that. So if you're looking for a guide on just pure caster, I haven't experimented with it. I'm not going to make a guide on it, but this will be on fist weaving, but I will talk about possible options if you want to modify the fist weaving style to include more of the traditional Mistweaver playstyle. What exactly is fist weaving? So you have options as a caster. You have Vivify, which you can cast. It does a heal on the target, and then also will replicate on targets that have your Renewing Mist on you. You have a Big Hot Enveloping Mist. This is a Big Hot, usually put it on your tank or on someone that's struggling, unless you're doing some other things. There's gonna be a lot of asterisks when it comes to fist weaving, just because there's a lot of conditionals and extra things to worry about. But the traditional casting style is just that. You stand by, you throw out your beam, you Soothing Mist on someone and cast. Fist weaving, on the other hand, incorporates your monk playstyle, your monk abilities to attack. So you can Tiger Strike, you can kick, you can Rising Sun kick, you can spin, and then there's other option as well with your Faeline Stomp, which was the Night Fae ability from Shadowlands. And it looks like this. You stomp, it randomly goes left or right, but it creates this line that you're standing on, and then when you're on it, you have other things that can modify it if you go into improved Faeline, so other things there. What makes fist weaving work as a healing playstyle is the fact that you can get modifiers for it. The first being Teachings of the Monastery. Tiger Palm causes your next blackout kick to strike an additional time, stacking up to 3. So when you are when you're on a target and you can hit once, you can see I'm getting stacks of Teaching of the Monastery. I hit twice, I hit 3 times. Now the next time I blackout kick, it hit 4 times. So that extra little bit there means that blackout kick has extra hits, and this is important for the combo of fist weaving. Blackout kick has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Rising Sun kick, and each blackout kick restores mana. You can additionally get Spirit of the Crane, and in most builds you will. Now, there were some builds at the start of Dragonflight that didn't use Spirit of the Crane, but I think you need either Mana Tea or Life Cycles, probably Mana Tea and Spirit of the Crane, because mana is a huge problem for Mistweavers. So what this does is it does an additional mana every time your blackout kick hits. So you can see that obviously if you get multiple stacks of this, and then you blackout kick and it hits 4 times, you also have the ability, every hit has a chance to reset your Rising Sun kick, and every hit restores mana additionally. So stacking that up is really good. In difficult content, you won't always be able to stack to 3. In some cases, you'll be stacking to 1 or stacking to 2 and then spending because the blackout kick needs to be rolling regularly, but just keep in mind that this is here. Okay, so that's the core. Ancient Teachings is the next part. After casting Essence Font or Faeline Stomp, your Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and Rising Sun Kick, your melee abilities, heal an injured ally within 30 yards for 150% of the damage done. It's kind of like the Avenging Crusader build for Paladin, where as they deal damage, they heal. This is the core of the crux of the build, Ancient Teaching. So when you have Essence Font, so you throw your Essence Font, this will shoot bolts out at targets randomly around you. When this ends, you get a timer, 15 seconds of Ancient Teaching. So while this is up, your 3 melee abilities, Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and Rising Sun Kick, will heal a nearby ally. And part of the Fist Weaving playstyle is keeping Ancient Teachings up. And you can see why I have a weak aura in the middle of my screen that shows the timer for that. Between Faeline Stomp and your Essence Font, you can keep this up 100% of the time, and you'll be able to throw out tons and tons of healing through Ancient Teachings. And if the amount of damage that's coming in is medium to low, Ancient Teachings is probably going to be your highest heal throughput overall. But it does fall behind if you're in crisis mode. You can't be attacking the monster constantly in order to manage that. So before we get into cooldowns like Chi-Ji, let's just talk about the core kit, the basics of the gameplay, and we'll talk about the build. So the build you see on screen is going to be the build that I recommend. I've messed around a bunch. I probably have more builds made for Mistweaver and Monk in general than any other spec in Dragonflight, because I've played all the healers, all of them in all content, and Mistweaver is the only one that just really seems to be dragging its feet. And even though there are builds that work, it's tough. I mean, you can even look at the top 100 M+, and there's no Mistweavers in it. So it's rough. It's a tough spot to be in. But this is the build that I would recommend running with. The reason being is that Spirit of the Crane and Mana Tea, I think, are essential to keep your mana high. When you're pushing high keys, anything over 15, you're going to run out of mana constantly. You'll need breaks in combat to drink, and it's going to be hard to maintain that without Spirit of the Crane and Mana Tea, especially for popping Mana Tea right before you try to get the most out of Enveloping Breath. But that's the core gameplay there. You want to be throwing out your Renewing Mist, which you have 2 stacks of. Renewing Mist lasts a long time. It's an instant cast. You just throw it out on a target, and it will have a chance to jump as well. So if it heals a target past maximum HP, it will travel to another target, and then you'll be able to renew that in various ways. You're throwing out your Renewing Mists, and then you are a new addition that we got in Dragonflight, which is super cool, is Vivacious Vivification. And every 10 seconds, your next Vivify becomes instant cast. It doesn't become free, and Vivify does cost a good amount of mana. You can see even just casting this, my mana bar is visibly moving, but you can use it, and it's a great way to get some extra value out of Vivify. So that gives you your kind of like your baseline heal that you cast. What's cool about Vivify though is that when you cast it, when you use it, it will heal all targets that have your Renewing Mist active for an additional amount. So you are incentivized to stack as many of the Renewing Mists up that you can. So get it on your whole party, throw out those stacks on there, make sure as many people as you can have Renewing Mist, and then when you do throw out a Vivify, everyone that has Renewing Mist will get an extra benefit for it, and it's partly why Vivify has a above average, let's say, mana cost, is because it does, based on where your Renewing Mist is, give you additional healing on multiple targets. You will still pick up Soothing Mist for Fist Weaving. This is really just if one person is taking tons of damage, maybe they're stuck with the dot at the end of Temple of the Jade Serpent on Tyrannical Week, and it's like an 18 key or something. What Soothing Mist allows you to do is it allows you to instantly dump your mana into someone to boost them up. So when you're channeling on someone, and normally you'll see a beam, but I'm channeling on myself, all of my spells that are on that target are instant cast. So this is the way that Mistweavers can target someone and then channel onto them and just vivify, Enveloping Mist, vivify, and they can just keep dumping it. So you will still use Soothing Mist as a Fist Weaver to save someone, or if the tank's getting owned really hard, especially if you have like Grievous Week or something like that. It helps keep that person healthy, but for the most part, you want to try and avoid using it because it's just an extra use of mana that you shouldn't need to use if you're Fist Weaving properly. In this build, we're going to pick up Paralysis, great ranged instant incapacitate, very good. An interrupt that is so easy to access. So you'd have to get this. It's almost inescapable. It's so good compared to classes like Druid that can't really get to their interrupt reasonably. So you'll be picking that up. You want to pick up one or both of your defense options with Diffuse Magic for magic damage and Dampen Harm. It just means that if you know a big raid wide or group wide is coming in a Mythic Plus, you can pop one of these and spend less time healing yourself. And for Fist Weaving, I don't think you need any of these. It is nice to get White Tiger Statue for extra damage. It's a big loss because some of these are just so good. These three in particular, Resonant Fist gives you decent damage. Bounce Back is also good. Save Them All is decent. You don't really need any of the bottom statues if you're running Fist Weaving. If you're a caster, Mistweaver, you will pick up Jade Serpent statue. Over to the spec tree. Let's start getting into the actual technical parts of Mistweaver. This isn't just casting your hots and healing people. Your only external is Life Cocoon. We are getting a new talent in 10.0.5 that allow you to modify Life Cocoon to be a shorter cooldown, and it gives you extra bits. But by default, they've worked this into the core ability. When you Life Cocoon someone, it applies Renewing Mist and Enveloping Mist, your two hots. So you can bubble someone, super good. It's not the best external. It doesn't, it doesn't shine a candle on, like Disc Priest external, stuff like that, Pain's Presence, but you can't not use it. So it's on a 2-minute cooldown by base. In 10.0.5, we should have a new way to modify this essentially as well. And that's your only real external. It's you just kind of want to use it, pop it. It's a nice little bubble that helps save someone when they're in a pinch, and it can be useful. On to Thunder Focus Tea. This is like the variable, or at least it used to be, the variable ability for Mistweaver. What this does is when you drink the Thunder Focus Tea, it empowers your next spell to do something additional. If you Thunder Focus Tea and Enveloping Mist, it does an additional heal. So this is good for single target to save somebody. If you Thunder Focus Tea and you Renewing Mist, it extends the duration of the hot. So it means it has higher chance to spread to other people. This is great in raid to save you the mana of casting extra Renewing Mists, but also helps keep the targets up. You won't really be using Thunder Focus Tea full Renewing Mist in Mythic Plus. It can make your next Vivify cost no mana, which is probably maybe the third best for Mythic Plus. Rising Sun Kick reduces the cooldown, which is super clutch for Fist Weaving, and then Essence Font channels faster. It does take quite a while, especially if you're running with the extra bit on Renewing Mist or Essence Font. If you end up trying to channel it the whole time, it does last quite a bit. So, way this works, we got Breath of Yulon's Whisper back from Legion, which means when you drink the Thunder Focus Tea, you exhale breath, so you pop it. Make sure you're aiming this at the group. It does have respectable healing amount on it, so it's another heal. And then when you're in a group, you're gonna have 3 main choices to choose from. You won't really be doing Essence Font because you usually cancel it early. We'll talk about that in a second. You won't really be Renewing Mist because you don't really need the extra duration when you're only trying to get Renewing Mist onto 5 people. So your options are Enveloping Mist, Vivify, and Rising Sun Kick. All great options, and all have their own unique uses. The first is Enveloping Mist. You pop this Thunder Focus Tea, throw out the Enveloping Mist. Enveloping Mist already does heal over time and increases the healing received from other spells. Super clutch. So you'll be able to pick that up. And so if you need to, like someone's dropping low, you don't have cooldowns, you might have to Thunder Focus Tea, use the breath, the Yulon's Whisper to heal them up, and then get the extra Enveloping Mist. Most of the time, however, you'll either, if you're burning mana like crazy and you have a free Vivify coming from your Vivacious Vivification, you'll pop it, get the breath, and then throw out the free Vivify to save yourself some mana. If you're not under super duress, what you'll do is you'll use it to reduce the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick. This affects, obviously, your Ancient Teachings. It gives you a big bonus. It also affects Rising Mist, which we'll talk about in a second. So what it does is you can pop this, get your breath out, and then you can throw out Rising Sun Kick. It goes on a much shorter cooldown, and you can Rising Sun Kick again. It's probably the most common, but you won't be doing that if people are in serious trouble, just because you might have to break from Fist Weaving to manage that. Coming down here, you'll need all of these. Healing Elixir is nice. It means that if someone, if the whole group's dropping low, you can drink the Healing Elixir to heal yourself. It's just a max % HP. So as you get better gear, this becomes a bigger and bigger heal, which is nice. You will be picking up Mana Tea, which is like a baby version of Innervate. For 10 seconds, all of your mana is it's not free, it's just half cost. And super useful when you're about to go into a moment where you're gonna spend a lot of mana and run out. So now let's talk about Rising Mist. This is what brings all the Fist Weaving together. When you Rising Sun Kick, which is the ability we just talked about, that upward kick, when you Rising Sun Kick, all of your allies that have a hot on them, Essence Font, Renewing Mist, or Enveloping Mist, get healed, and then it extends those effects by an additional 4 seconds with a maximum of double the duration that it used to have, right? So if Renewing Mist is 18 or 20 seconds by default, you can increase it all the way up to 40 seconds. So you can see it's at, 12 seconds, 11 seconds, 10 seconds, Rising Sun Kick. Now it's 14 seconds. So when you have a group of 5 and you're throwing out Enveloping Mists, you're throwing out Renewing Mists, or you have the Essence Font on them, being able to Rising Sun Kick to extend the duration, so I can throw Enveloping Mist on myself, right? And I can throw Renewing Mist on myself. You can extend these durations, including Enveloping Mist, your big hot that costs a bunch of mana. So you can throw those out. You have those 2 on there. I could even throw like an Essence Font on myself. And then I can Thunder Focus Tea, Rising Sun Kick, extends all my hots. Reduce the cooldown Rising Sun Kick. I Rising Sun Kick again. It extends all the hots by 4 seconds. And then if I have stored up extra Blackout Kicks, remember Blackout Kick has a chance to reset the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick. Once again, boom, you can extend the hots. So it gives you a big heal through Rising Mist. It gives you a big heal through Ancient Teachings because it's your highest damaging melee attack. And it does give you, the chance to kind of use your Blackout Kicks more. So that's kind of the core of it. It also means that when you're running things like Awakened Faeline, you can also, when you have just Faeline Stomp, you have this extra little bit to stand on it. It's a great way. I actually do believe that Rising Sun Kick has the highest chance to reset Faeline Stomp when you're on it. But that's kind of the core of it, right? So before we get into the big cooldowns like Chi Ji and how to manage that, let's talk about what the basic rotation would be there. So you have your Renewing Mists. You're staying on the target melee, just like a Holy Paladin, a melee Holy Paladin would. And you're throwing out basically your Rising Sun Kicks, your Blackout Kicks. If Rising Sun Kick resets, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick. If nothing's left, then you throw out a Tiger Palm. If you have something available, use it. Don't fall into the trap of spamming Tiger Palm until you get 3 Ancient Teachings, because then Tiger Palm, unless you're on Faeline, won't give you the extra little bit. You need to be using Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick to get the most out of Ancient Teachings, and obviously to get Rising Mist to proc to add all the hots. So you're throwing out the Renewing Mist, you're throwing out Enveloping Mist on the tank if he needs it. Remember, not only does it give you a big fat hot, it also increases the healing they receive from you by 40%. Super crucial, very important. So you want to be kind of throwing that out, hard casting it. You don't really use Soothing Mist all that much to get going. So on top of that, right, as you're kind of stacking that up and throwing out Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, Faeline Stomping, staying on top of it, trying to reset it. If there's AoE, you can Spinning Crane Kick to keep everything popping. Make sure you have your Ancient Teachings procced. The other thing you have to be aware of is the power of Essence Font. So Essence Font, the benefit of Essence Font is not in the heal, right? So you will still be running Upwelling. I think Upwelling is still good for Mythic Plus. So you'll still be casting it, but you won't. So the way Essence Font gets its most value, so when you activate it, you won't be draining mana while it's going. So you can let it go, but the bolts don't heal for a crazy amount. What's useful about Essence Font is when you Gust of Mist procs on targets that have Essence Font on them, it Gusts of Mist twice, which is huge, and each bolt has a chance to reduce the cooldown Thunder Focus Tea by 1 second. So the extra little bit is super nice. So what you usually do in a Mythic Plus is you'll cast Essence Font until everyone has a bolt on them, and once they do, you hit escape and you cancel it. Because continuing to channel doesn't matter, the value comes from the Gust of Mists and having them on it. Also keep in mind that Faeline Stomp, if you hit someone with it, it will actually add an Essence Bolt to them, including yourself. So it does kind of have that bit. And then when you Rising Sun Kick, you'll extend the duration of Essence Font. So when you're in melee range, you're kind of just stacking up, keeping Ancient Teachings up, throwing out your melee as often as you can, trying to reset, pop your Thunder Focus Tea. If you're just in normal gameplay, I would Thunder Focus Tea into Rising Sun Kick to reset the cooldown. If you're in kind of like mana management mode, you can pop Thunder Focus Tea and then use it for Vivify. So you keep that up. And then if you're in real crisis mode, someone's about to die and Thunder Focus is coming off cooldown, pop Thunder Focus and then throw out an Enveloping Mist just to give you the extra huge, it's a big fat heal and it increases the healing you have on them. But you can see how important it is with Fist Weaving to be on the target and just constantly throwing out your melee kicks. Rising Sun Kick needs to be on cooldown at all times. The value of it cannot be overstated. Not only does it give you a big heal, it's your highest damage, which triggers more healing from ancient teachings, but it extends the HOTS that you have on all targets by 4 seconds each time you do it. So you're mixing up between casting HOTS, throwing out your Rising Sun Kick, keeping up your teachings, throwing out, and you can see, I mean, it does take a lot of practice to get this right, and it is quite powerful when played correctly. So that's the core of it. Now let's talk about cooldowns, how to manage your cooldowns and how to use them. Mistweaver Monk has probably one of the weakest raid cooldowns / 3-minute cooldowns for healers, but it has a very niche use that is unparalleled. So Revival at its core, when you activate it, it is an instant cast spell. You pop it, everyone that's in range, that is in range of you, will get a medium heal. It's not bad. And then will also cleanse all magic, poison, and disease effects. Super useful in Shadow Moon Burial Grounds when everyone gets a big poison dot coming out from the spiders. You can instantly cleanse the entire group from all the problems. This is good for bursting on magical. All of that super good. It's a long cooldown. You can find ways to reduce it with some of these, but it is there and available. So it's not as good as Rewind. I'd rather have Rewind from Preservation, but it is there as a cooldown, and it's decent and it's something you should be aware of. Generally, since it's such a long cooldown, you do want to try and beef up, if you have a cooldown or a trinket or a proc or something that can increase your crit, can increase your int, before you do it, try to do that just to get the most value out of it. Going into the next cooldown, that is going to be Chi-Ji. So this is your other 3-minute cooldown. You can modify it to 1 minute, and you will, as we, in this specific build that is down in the description, ready to import. And you have basic Yulon. So the way Chi-Ji works, super strong, but you really have to get the most out of it. And you have to know how it works in order to manage it properly. So when you activate this, boom, there's Chi-Ji. You're glowing red. Chi-Ji the crane is here. You're good to go. While Chi-Ji is active, okay, when you blackout kick, which is your kick here, it'll kick up a Gust of Mist. And remember, when we have Essence Font, Gust of Mist will Gust of Mist twice. Every time you blackout kick, Chi-Ji's going to Gust of Mist. And then when you Rising Sun Kick or Spinning Crane Kick, it'll heal allies plus the Gust, and then it reduces the cast time of your next Enveloping Mist by 33%, stacking 3 times. So while you have that up and while you're moving around, you have this really tight window, especially if you're running 1 minute Chi-Ji, which you will in this build. You pop Chi-Ji, and then for the next 12 seconds, you have to be like, it's like you're off to the races. You have to be kind of like blood in your veins, you're ready to go. You pop it, and then, let's see if we can get back up here. You want to be using your fist weaving style, right? Throwing out your blackout kicks, throwing out your spinning crane kick for AoE, throwing out your rising sun kick, get that going. So, activate, right? Yeah, and this is your normal enveloping mist, right? When I hit once, I get 2 stacks of Chi-Ji. My next, if I get 3, my next enveloping mist is instant and costs no mana. So for every 3 attacks, it becomes instant and costs no mana. If you're trying to, if you're really in trouble, you probably won't be getting 3 stacks all that much. I think the most efficient way to use this is to pop it, blackout kick, and then just manually cast like the 33% reduction, blackout kick for the rise, to kick up the gusts, and then you just blackout kick, hit, enveloping mist, blackout kick, hit, enveloping mist. The reason for this, not only do you get the healing increase from enveloping mist, and you also kick up the gust of mist every time you blackout kick, you get mana back, which is super useful. You're triggering ancient teachings, which is useful. The other big secret for Chi-Ji and for Yulon, and especially in raid, but also in dungeons, is enveloping breath. This is where you'll get the highest parses for Mistweavers in raid because they're managing their enveloping breath properly. While active, Yulon and Chi-Ji heal up to 6 nearby targets with enveloping breath when you cast enveloping mist, healing them over time and increasing the healing they receive from you by 10%. And this is for every active instance of enveloping breath. It can stack up like crazy while you have Chi-Ji up, and that's why you pop it up, enveloping mist, blackout kick, enveloping mist, blackout kick, enveloping mist, blackout kick. And now you're getting enveloping breath on each target that has it, and it's really starting to stack up. You get all this extra little bit. Super nice. And so during that time window, your healing just goes through the roof. It's actually bonkers. And then you obviously can do Yulon for raids, or if you want to do Chi-Ji. So there's some cool modifications you can make with this. Obviously, if you per instance of Blackout Kick, you get 3 stacks on Chi-Ji. It means that you can make your Enveloping Mist up to instant cast and free cost of mana when you have those 3 stacks. Then obviously when you stack up 3 of Teachings of the Monastery, you Blackout Kick once, you get all 3 stacks, boom, you get yourself a free instant Enveloping Mist. Super cool. So that's your big cooldown. It's got a lot of steps to it. It's not as good as, you know, popping Lay of Hands or throwing out, you know, Rewind or putting down a Spirit Link totem that you press 1 button for. It's got a lot of moving parts. But when you use it properly, Enveloping Breath is incredibly strong. Chi-Ji is incredibly strong. And for that reason in Mythic Plus, this is why I'm going to recommend running Gift of the Celestials. This is normally a 3-minute cooldown, right? So if I take this off, you can see this is, well, I have to save it. But yeah, you have this. It's normally a 3-minute cooldown with a longer duration. Gift of the Celestials makes Chi-Ji a 1-minute cooldown, but it increases the duration to 12 seconds. So you have a shorter window to deal with, but you get it up more often. So every single minute, you can pop Chi-Ji, you can throw it out, throw up your Enveloping Mist. If you have any stacks of Teachings, you throw this out to refresh it. And remember, while you're running Rising Mist, each instance of your Enveloping Mist will get extended by each of your Rising Sun Kick. So going into Chi-Ji, you want to have Rising Sun Kick ready. You want to have it available. You even want to have Thunder Focus Tea if you can to do double Rising Sun Kick, which will extend the duration of all Enveloping Mists by an extra 8 seconds, 4 seconds per Rising Sun Kick. So you have that stack. So that's kind of how you put it all together. I think there isn't really much modification. Bone Dust Brew sucks. It's getting completely removed in 10.0.5. It's being replaced with Shyland's Gift that we had in Legion. So that's coming back together. There are some caster playstyles you can run by removing Awakened Faeline and Ancient Concordance. I still think you want Faeline Stomp, but I don't think the caster versions can hold a candle to properly managed Fist Weaving. So this is one of the builds. This one is more mana mindful. It has Spirit of the Crane and it has Mana Tea. I modified this from my first build going into Mythic Plus at the start because I was just running out of mana way too much. I mean, since I play all the healers, playing Holy Paladin, Resto Druid, I have to drink maybe 3-4 times a dungeon, even on high keys, 17 plus. On Mistweaver, I feel like I'm just guzzling my water all the time trying to get my mana back. So let's talk about now just kind of some scenarios, basic pickup, things to worry about, things to look at, and we'll just run through everything, put it all back together so that you have it all in your head and you're ready to jump into a dungeon. Firstly, as a Fistweaver, you're going to want to plant yourself next to the target. And you want to keep up with it as well. And this is a whole other skill set that Holy Paladins and Fistweavers have to manage that other healers don't. But you generally just want to be keeping up with the mob. If they're moving, you're always staying with them and you're always in melee range because you want to be constantly and regularly Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick. And then you have these windows. So that's kind of like the core baseline of the gameplay. So make sure you're managing your Ancient Teaching. So if Ancient Teaching isn't up, Faeline Stomp. If Faeline Stomp isn't up, Essence Font, right? And when Essence Font it hits 5 people, cancel it. You'll refresh your Ancient Teachings. You're good to go, right? And then when you're in target range, make sure you're always keeping Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick on cooldown. You can see without any procs, it's not that difficult. Rising Sun Kick stays on cooldown for 10 seconds, Blackout Kick for 3 seconds, and then you have these windows in between Blackout Kicks where it's not up and not available, so you have choices to make there. So you're keeping up Faeline Stomp. You can reset it by standing on it. I have a weak here that shows me when I'm standing on my Faeline and when I'm not, just to help me on, just in the combat, I can see that when I'm on the Faeline getting the benefits versus not, and then keeping these on cooldown. So when you have these dead zones, these little global cooldown dead zones, where Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick are on cooldown, that's when you start deciding whether you're going to cast spells or whether you're going to keep doing melee damage. So while those are on cooldown, throw out Renewing Mist. Make sure you don't have 2 stacks of it, so it's always, the cooldown's always running. It does give you a nice little heal, and then obviously when you do Vivify, it's going to heal everyone that has Renewing Mist. So you just want to be kind of keeping up Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, throw out Renewing Mist. Wait for a second, anything to do? Nope, Blackout Kick. that's how you're doing it. Then you want to keep Thunder Focus Tea on cooldown as well. You can pop it up. Remember, this heal that you get from the breath is very respectable, not to be gawked at. So you're throwing that out. You're just keeping these two on cooldown. And then I would recommend doing, if you don't want to think about Thunder Focus Tea, just use it for Rising Sun Kick every time, or use it for Vivify every time. Those are the two best options you have available. It keeps your mana high if you use Vivify, and it gives you more output through Fist Weaving if you use it for Rising Sun Kick. So keep the teachings. Make sure you Rising Sun Kick. Make sure you Blackout Kick. Make sure you throw out your Renewing Mist and keep that all together. If you have things like Chi Burst or Chi Wave, they don't make a huge difference, but they are super nice. You can throw those out and keep those on cooldown as well. If someone gets into mega trouble, you can pop up Life Cocoon, keep them alive. It does apply, Enveloping Mist and your Renewing Mist as well. But again, you're staying in melee range. You're constantly using Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick. You're keeping that. You're proccing Rising Mist. I can't tell you how important it is to constantly be doing this the entire time, to the point where it's almost second nature. Like, you don't even think about it. These two abilities are just always on cooldown. So you have those going for you. And then if you get to the point where damage starts to kick up, make sure you try to get Essence Font on all targets, either by hitting them with a Faeline Stomp or by throwing out Essence Font until everyone has Essence Font on them. And then you just keep going back into the rotation, and that's the pickup. If a bunch of damage comes in, that's when you start considering spending mana. Using your instant Vivify to hit all targets that have the Renewing Mist, and you're going through that rotation. If you have your Renewing Mist on cooldown, Thunder Focus Tea is on cooldown, you're just chilling, there's not really anything going on, and Blackout Kick's on cooldown, that's when you Tiger Palm. This will give you an extra hit. Keep in mind that if you're running with your Awakened Faeline, when you're standing in your Faeline, your Tiger Palm will give you 2 stacks instead of 1 of your Teaching the Monastery, which will give you even more Blackout Kicks, right? So this standing in your Faeline is everything when you're running this build, and then you throw it out. Again, priority is Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and then if you have nothing else, then you Tiger Palm to get every other value out of that. If stuff goes really bad, you have Revival. You want to use it on cooldown. Be aware of anything you need to cleanse to do that. And then your next big, okay, I need to plan for this. I need some big healing. That's Chi Ji. So going into Chi Ji, the best thing you can do is obviously make sure you have your Ancient Teachings ready. You basically do everything you can to only be doing Chi Ji things inside the Chi Ji window. So if you have to, like pop up this, cancel it, get fresh teachings, get your Thunder Focus Tea, make sure that Rising Sun kicks off cooldown, and then you go after it, right? So there goes Chi Ji, pop it, Rising Sun Kick, and then you want to throw out Enveloping Mist if someone's in trouble, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, Enveloping Mist if someone's in trouble, Blackout Kick, extra little hit there, Enveloping Mist, Chi Ji's gone, right? So that you can get Enveloping Mist maybe on 3-4 people or 5 if you're doing it properly and you have good haste. And you have this extra little bit in there. Remember, every time you attack, Chi Ji's kicking up. So that's why every global needs to be useful inside of Chi Ji. Chi Ji's kicking up Mist. You're triggering off Essence Font. You're getting Enveloping Mist on everyone, which is increasing the healing they receive. And then you're extending that with your Rising Sun Kick, keeping that on cooldown. Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and keeping up with the mobs. So that's the core of it. And then obviously Enveloping Breath is kicking in. And that's basically it. So that's all of Mistweaver. If you're looking for a less mana focused build, the build that I was using, so this one, I was using this for the start of the X pack, without improved Faeline, without Mana Tea. I ended up putting Spirit of the Crane in here extra if you want, but you can get things like Secret Infusion, increases your stats, and then Invoker's Delight gives you extra haste when your Celestial is up. Super nice, but over time I started sacrificing these extra stats just so we can get more mana and we can get more healing because we desperately needed it. I ended up moving away from Zen Pulse as well. I don't think it's that good in Mythic Plus. It's okay in Raid, but even then, only if you use Echoing Reverberation. So this is another option. I'll put this down in the description. You can import it, but I would say that the build to use is this one. I think this is the best M+ build for Mistweaver. For pushing high keys in general, and mastering this playstyle will give you the most benefit. So I hope that is helpful. Mistweaver is a little bit longer to explain than some of the other healers. It's not like, some healers where people are hurt, I heal them. But once you get into the rhythm of moving and keeping up with the mobs and moving around and paying attention to your stuff and keeping everything on cooldown, Mistweaving is super fun. It gets more fun with better gear as you get higher and higher haste. Haste increases your hots. It also means that your attacks come faster, which means you're kicking up more mist, all that. And then going into 10.5, 10.0.5, we'll get Shailen's Gift and we'll be spawning mist, which you can target on someone, which is kind of like the Insect Glaive and Monster Hunter Rise. It's super cool. It's fun. But that's it. That's Mythic plus Mistweaver. If any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. See you there. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content. Link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.